What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is journalist, author, podcast host, and former teacher Shea Serrano. We spoke about Dune, Shea's love for Jean-Claude Van Damme, the original Mortal Kombat movie, and Jason Statham, why Above the Rim is the best movie soundtrack of all time, the indescribable perfection of Warren G and Nate Dogg's Regulate, the process behind his latest book, Hip Hop and Other Things, and the importance of establishing your own lane as a creative. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. I don't remember what episode this is anymore. Like, I stopped counting. We're still here. We're still thriving. It's Dylan, CineMasai. I got names. Those are two of them all over the place. Final. This has been a pretty, it's so surreal to have taken 2 weeks off and just like to be back now. So like, I'm like, my brain is just trying to reacclimate. It's so weird. But, we got somebody on here who is, it's very wild that this man is here. This man is a writer, a very, very big rap and movie fan, which I think, makes him a perfect guest to have on a thing like this. Like, his work has been all over the place from, from Grantland to OG over there to, like The Ringer, and just, this guy's been everywhere. We got Shea Serrano, his new book, Hip Hop and Other Things, is out now. Like, yes. Yeah, man.
Go buy it.
Yeah, please go buy the book.
First and foremost, go buy this fucking book.
You will go to hell if you don't buy this book. Like, yo, Shea, man, thank you so much for coming on my shit, bro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I was very excited. I don't think I've ever done a show where they combined two of the things I like. It's always one of the things I really like, and this one was two. That's a good number for me.
See, yeah, same here, man. Like, this shit saves so many lives, and like staves off boredom and just like whatever, like we're all just here to, we're all just fans and just here to just take it all in. So
let's do that. Let's take it all in.
Let's do that. So first question I ask everybody who comes on: what's the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
I watched Dune, and I fucking loved it. Did you watch it?
I literally saw it like 2 days ago.
Me too. I was watching it over the weekend, actually, and then I rewatched it again. It's so fucking good. I liked it. Did you like it?
I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I was gonna like it, because I'm big on the Lynch version, but like, it was beautiful. It looked great. I'm trying to like I'm so stuck on how I felt about it, because like the acting I thought was just okay, but everything else, like, I can't even front. I fell asleep for 5 minutes twice.
What?
Because only because
that's terrible.
I was so tired. I had just done an interview, and like I went into New York City to go do an interview, and then I went to go see the movie, and I was just tired. But like,
you can't say I had just done an interview. I was so tired. That's not. If you were like, I just laid concrete, I was so tired. Okay. But I just did it. I had just sat down and talked to a person for 20 minutes. I was so tired. You're fucking out of your mind. Get out of here.
Nah, man, I was running around Chinatown all day. It wasn't quite as crazy as laying concrete, but like,
it was really good. Are we allowed to say stuff that happened in the movie? Because we're gonna do that. So if you're listening, just skip ahead like 2 minutes.
Please go for it.
I really, really liked it. Like you said, it looks incredible. Every single frame is like, oh shit, they really went for it here. But I think what makes it special, what made it special for me anyway, is that as big as the movie was, the like giant set pieces, the big old worm, the big like whatever, the big explosions and fights, like that was all cool. But the part that like got me the most was at the very end, when Paul is fighting the guy to the death and like place of his mom. And he's just fucking giving him the business, and he keeps putting the blade up to his throat, and he's like, do you yield? And they're like, hey, we don't yield here. It's fucking die or
you gotta kill him.
And he keeps doing it, and he can't make himself cut him. And then the one guy is like, is he toying with him? And then his mom says, he's never killed a man before. And you see it like on his face, on her face, like just the weight of the moment right there. It's just one small interaction, but they like save it for the whole movie, and then they drop the big. I mean, that scene happens, and then they do the big like the chant yell or whatever it is from the trailer, and it comes on right then, right before he kills it. And I love when movies do that. I think the movie Creed is the best example of that. You go the whole movie without hearing the Rocky theme, and then they play it right when Creed stands up for the last round, and you fucking lose your mind. Like they do. Yeah. It's a version of that. And I was so excited when that happened. Okay, the spoilers are over.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that building attention too. I just like I could like I guess my big issue with it so far is that like it clearly feels like a part one, and like it's like so dense with the minutia, and it doesn't explain itself very much. So I found myself kind of getting lost just a little bit. But like as I kind of came up and like started to like, because I'm like I just completely blanked on everything about Dune. Like I just forgot all of it, you know.
You don't need to know anything.
Yeah,
it's fine. Like, you just watch it. I have never read the book before. I didn't even bother watching the old movies. I just went into this one not knowing anything, and I was like, "Oh, I get it. Paul, he's Neo. This is the Matrix. I'm caught up."
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. Like I had that moment too. Like, cause one of the times I fell asleep, I woke up right when I woke up right when the big rebellion is happening, like halfway through, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Avatar, and then everything is just, and then like the whole shit just like opened up like a cerebro map in my head, and I was like, okay, I get it now. Like whatever I missed, I get it. It's all good. Like, yeah, pretty much. But I'm really excited for part 2, and I just. Like I was talking to one of my homies about this yesterday. I'm not 100% sold on Timothée Chalamet yet. That moment you mentioned was really beautiful, but I don't have enough, like just from all the things I've seen him in, I don't have enough of him yet to be like, that kid's a star. Like that kid should be Willy Wonka. Like I'm not there yet.
That's fair. He's really good in Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, he is.
I liked him in this a lot. He is small, so it's like, if I was the other guy, just fucking grab him, just grab a hold of him. And then he's like, what, you know, like when you grab your little brother, your little sister, and you just squeeze the shit out of him.
Right.
He would have won the fight. You're trying to fucking stab him. Just grab him. But I get it though. But I liked it. This is the most I've ever liked him in a thing. I liked him doing the whole like brooding. I don't know how I feel about everything. And then at the end, he starts to stand up for himself. All right, cool. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, no, and like that's also fair, you know, like I know I can already tell I'm gonna like the second one way more, and like I have to go back and watch the first one since it's on HBO Max. I saw it in the theater. You saw it in the theater, or you saw it at home?
I watched it at home first, and I really liked it, and then I was like, I want to go see it on a bigger screen, and then I did that.
Definitely one for the theater. Like I'm like I was happy to throw down the money for it and just like sit, and it was so worth it. Just like on a purely technical level, just gorgeous movie. I think like you don't really it's because like it's weird because it's very much like a tale as old as time kind of like plotted thing that you can follow pretty easily, but everything else about it is just like so strange and just like so like scaled back and like restrained and just like just weird, you know. I don't know, it's just like Dune is always
I like
weird.
that I like that about it.
Yeah, me too, especially like on like a big scale like that. You don't see very many studios take a risk on stuff like that, so you know I'm big on risk over here, so I fuck with that a ton. So let's run this back even further with you. Like, what's the first movie experience you remember having? Like, it could be at the theater, your cousin's house, wherever. Like,
the very first movie I can remember going to a theater to watch was Kickboxer, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. My Uncle Brian took me. So I don't have any older siblings. My Uncle Brian is like, I think he's like 13 years older than me or something like that. He's not that much older. So when I was a kid, when I was 9 or 10, he was in his early 20s, and he lived with us at the time. He had just gotten out of the military. I was living with my grandma, and he came back home. It was his mom, and so he moved in with her. So I like all of a sudden I had a cool older brother, and he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Mortal Kombat?" And then you're like, "Show me Mortal Kombat." And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Hey, you ever heard of Playboy magazine?" And he would show me a Playboy magazine, and I was like, "Yes." But he took me to go see Kickboxer, and it's the very first movie memory I have in my head. I imagine it's part of the reason why I love Jean-Claude Van Damme so much. I have literally on the other side here, I'm going to turn my camera. Nobody else will get to see it, but you can see over there. There's a framed Bloodsport poster with the Bloodsport handmade statue and an autographed picture by Bolo Young. Like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's the first actual theater experience I can remember.
What is it about Van Damme that you love so much? Because like you talk about him pretty often.
Yeah, because so he shows up. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were running action movies in the 80s. They changed the whole fucking landscape of what an action movie star was supposed to look like or be. And then in the late 80s, Bruce Willis shows up, and he's like the opposite of them. He like kind of doesn't want to be the hero. This is with Die Hard, of course. And he's not all bulky and big. Whereas Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they would make it a point of like being impossible to hurt in their movies. The scene everybody remembers from Die Hard is when Bruce Willis gets all the glass in his feet and is just like in total agony. Like he did a whole new thing with action movie stars. Jean-Claude Van Damme is like the midpoint in between both of those. He's not quite as big and bulky, but he's very, very muscular. He's not quite indestructible. You can hurt him, but you can never really really hurt him. You're never worried that he's going to die in anything. He's super handsome, which helps a lot.
Facts.
He has a like a trademark move with the splits, and you just wait for it to happen in the movies. He just has all of the things that like when you're a kid and you're watching a movie, you're hoping to see. You're like, oh, that's the star of the movie. Oh, he's in a tournament and he has to fight the bad guy, and they play music when the bad guy shows up, so I know who the bad guy is. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very much that thing, and I just fucking loved him for that.
I get that. Like, like I didn't grow up with Van Damme, but as I got older, I like watched a few of his movies, and like I got the appeal, and of course, like there's like that iconic split shot in I'm in Bloodsport where he's just like looking over the horizon, and I saw
he does it like 6 times in Bloodsport. It's crazy,
right? And then I remember when I first saw the cover for Action Bronson's Mr. Wonderful, where he's doing the exact same split, and like like of course I was like a lot older by then, but I'm just looking like, and I just thought like, damn, like that's just like a really cool obscure like popular but obscure movie reference to like throw into an album cover. Like you can tell this man cares about the two things that he's doing in this thing right now. And yeah, Van Damme definitely like typified that type of shit for me. Definitely.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's the coolest.
Do you, before we move on, do you have a favorite Van Damme movie? Is it Bloodsport or is there another one?
It's Bloodsport for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Bloodsport, and then Kickboxer, and then after that, maybe Lionheart or Death Warrant. Sneaky pick right there. Death Warrant.
Yeah, wow. That's what I haven't heard that name in years. So I'm curious now. How do you feel about the Expendable movies? Were those things that you fucked with when they first came out? Like, are you a fan of those?
I watched them, but I wasn't like crazy about them. Like I got what they were doing. I was like, all right, it's cool to see all of these guys together, but the thing of putting them all together is they don't snap together the way that like the Avengers do in the movies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The pieces don't fit. You're like, it's kind of not working here, beyond the fact that it's all of the guys from the movies together in one movie now. Like that's the thing. But beyond that, it doesn't quite work. So I was like, whatever about them.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. Cause like the whole idea is like kind of anachronistic on its own. Just like, like they're all in action movies, but like all the movies are different. It's not like they're all like the same person, and they kind of like, I get that they're trying to like play them off each other, and but like I watched them and I was like, I had the exact same reaction. I'm like, this is cool, but like I just
Yeah, it doesn't work. Now, if they would have done a thing where it was like, we're going to take these iconic action movie stars and we're going to put them all together, but they're going to be their iconic movie roles. Like Schwarzenegger is going to be, you can't, maybe you could maybe do Terminator 2 or whatever, but probably like Schwarzenegger is going to be John Matrix from Commando, and Stallone is going to be Rocky or Rambo, probably Rambo. He's going to be John Rambo. Right, Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to be Frank Duke. Like if they were playing those roles and you got to see them all together, and that would have been fun. But to have them be there and they're playing, like, I couldn't tell you the name of one single character from the movie. It just didn't work. It wasn't the same.
Yeah, you know, like either have like Jason Statham be his character from the Transporter, or just have him be Crank, like, you know, like
Crank. That's his name. Where's Crank? Get Crank in here.
Forget Chev Chelios. He's just Crank now. Like, I love the Crank movies. Maybe
too.
Like they're just so unhinged, bro. Like I don't understand what Neville Dean Taylor were thinking when they made those movies.
When I started working on the movie book, Movies and Other Things, the very first chapter I worked on was a Jason Statham chapter, and the chapter was like, which Jason Statham movie was the most Statham-y or something like that. Right. I ended up getting cut. I ended up cutting it out of there ultimately, but it was just a study of Jason Statham movies, and the Crank ones are so fucking good. The winner was Crank 2, by the way. That's the most Statham-y Jason Statham movie. It's just out of this world insane.
Yeah, like it's like it really feels like I can't even describe the process of like watching the second Crank movie, like, you know, because like even before they get into the costumes and have the fight at the power plant, it's just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, you know, like just like.
That's why I like Jason Statham so much, because he will lean into it 100%. Yeah. He's just like, I know what I am and I know what I do. I'm gonna fucking be who I am and do what I do. It's great. It's so much fun.
Yeah, he's a fucking professionally trained thumb fighter. His head looks like a thumb, and I just think of it I just think of him as like or not even a thumb, like a big toe. Like I just imagine him as just like a big toe with legs and just like this Cockney accent. Like he's something else.
What's the very first scene you think of when somebody says the name Jason Statham?
Oh, wow.
What do you think of right now?
Right now, I'm gonna say, probably the beginning of the first Crank. Honestly, like when he like wakes up in the so either the scene where he first wakes up and is watching him get injected with the Beijing cocktail on the TV, or probably the fight scene in the middle of Crank 2 when he and Johnny Wong are fighting at the power plant.
I always think of the one in Transporter when he gets all oiled up, and then he puts the bicycle pedals on his feet, like straps him in so he can be the only one who's not slipping and sliding. That was so fucking fun. So cool to watch in a movie theater.
Oh man, I can only imagine. I never got to see any of the Transporter movies in theaters, and there really isn't even that much of a divide between the Transporter and Crank. Like the Transporter just takes itself a little more seriously, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly it.
They're basically the same movie, you know, but like it's just like one's a parody of the other. Kind of.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I think it's this guy named Kevin Clark who I work with at The Ringer, and I think it was him who floated the idea of every Jason Statham movie should just be called Jason Statham movie, part 1, part 2, part like that, because it's just the same shit every time. But yeah, I'm all for it. I love Jason Statham.
Yeah, same. I like Jason Statham forever. Like he could really just go on and do it till he's 80, and I'll be there every time. Like
he was so funny in Spy with Melissa McCarthy. He's just the funniest part of that movie.
Yeah, like he's you know, like people don't appreciate him the way they should. I don't think. Like he's kind of been quiet for a while, so I wonder what he's up to now. Like
he's fighting somebody somewhere.
Yeah, he's fighting somewhere. Like not even rolling the cameras. So like as you get older and like you kind of had this experience with your uncle, like, and like you start experiencing movies. Do you remember the first movie that made you fall in love with movies as more than just well not even just as more than entertainment, just like what made you fall in love with the art of movie making and just like really appreciate it in that way?
It was Mortal Kombat, the movie Mortal Kombat. I don't know how old you are. It sounds like you're real young. You keep saying like, oh, I never saw this in the thing or that in the thing. How
I'm
old
29.
are you?
I'm 29.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're just a baby.
Yeah,
Um,
basically.
so okay. So in 1995, the Mortal Kombat movie comes out, and by then we had already gotten the video games, and this was like one of the most important things in my life was Mortal Kombat. And my uncle, a different uncle, my uncle Jesse, took me to go see it because he had two sons as well. And so I was hanging out with them. We all went to go watch it. And I just remember sitting in the theater, and it starts up with the fire coming up through the dragon logo from Mortal Kombat. And the guy is screaming, Mortal Kombat! And the fire, and you're like, yes, let's go, let's do this, right? And this is, I was 14 at the time or something like that. So I thought I was grown up. I'm sitting in the movie theater with my nachos, my eyes up on the screen. And I'm just like, I'm convinced as I'm watching it, this is the best movie that's ever been made. Like, it's got to be. Fuck Citizen Kane or whatever. This is better than that. That's how I'm feeling when I'm watching it. And there's a scene in there specifically where Sub-Zero and Scorpion get introduced. And at the time, Sub-Zero and Scorpion were my two favorite characters from the game. So I'm waiting for them to show up the whole time. We get introduced to Shang Tsung, we get Liu Kang, we get Johnny Cage. They're doing it slowly, and you're like, I fucking can't wait for Scorpion and Sub-Zero to be in here. Please be in this movie. And Sonya goes down into like the belly of the ship. Shang Tsung is down there, and they're like, it seems like he's gonna like attack her or something, and then Johnny Cage and Liu Kang show up. And she's like, if I need backup, I'll call for it, because they try to jump in and save her. Yeah. And right at that moment, this fucking hand comes in and grabs this like door that swings open. The hand grabs the door and pushes it open, and then Scorpion and Sub-Zero come walking out, and this terrifying music plays. And they don't talk, they never talk. But Shang Tsung narrates their entrance, and he's like, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, deadliest of enemies, but underneath my power, or whatever he says. Like, it's something like that. And I was fucking stand up, like saluting at the screen. I was so fucking fired up. And that was the moment where movies like crawled inside of my body and said, we're going to live here for the rest of your life. This is going to be something you deeply are passionate about.
Wow. That's so visceral, you know, like it's not even just about like, cause we could talk about the art of it all day, but like that feeling is really like, that's the catalyst for everybody, you know, like everybody has that one moment, and that's so beautiful.
That's all that it is. That is all that it has been for the entirety of my career, with music, covering basketball, covering movies, whatever. When it makes me feel the thing in my chest, that's like a version of that feeling, is when I know it's good. And I don't care about anything else. I don't care about any of the other parts. I don't care about the fucking cinematography or the whatever. Like I don't, like, if the pieces all come together and they make you feel that, then it's good. And there's nothing that anybody can say to me to say, oh no, Mortal Kombat is a terrible movie. No, it's not, because it made me feel how a movie is supposed to make you feel. Did it make you feel something? If it did, then it won. You lost, it beat you. It's fine. When you watch Crank, you feel a thing in your chest. You feel a thing, and you're like, fuck yes, he fucking punted ahead out into the ocean. Like, yes, I felt the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all that it is for music, basketball, anything. Do you feel the thing? If you feel the thing, then it's good.
Say that. Oh my, like, I couldn't put it better myself. Like, it's like that. It's really just a feeling, you know, like, and that's it. That's all that matters. Ugh.
Yeah. You have two people playing a guitar the exact same way. You can find 100 people who could play a Jimi Hendrix song, but when they play it, you don't feel it. They could play it note for note. It could be 100% exactly the same, a replica, and you don't feel it. But when you put on Jimmy, you feel it. And that's the difference.
That's really the difference. So like, when did that feeling first happen for you with music? Like, it doesn't even have to just be rap specific. Like, it could be any music ever.
Oh shoot. So I remember really like 91-ish or whatever is when I think Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer started becoming like a giant phenomenon. Yeah. And I was 9 or 10 at the time. and they were making music very much for 9 and 10-year-olds. Like they did, like MC Hammer did a song with the Addams Family. You know what I'm saying? Vanilla Ice did a song with the Ninja Turtles. Like they were catering to kids. This is pop rap. This is the birth of pop rap. So I can remember liking rap at that time. I had this very similar experience to Mortal Kombat 1 prior to Mortal Kombat when I went to the theater and we watched at the drive-in and we watched Ninja Turtle 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, because Vanilla Ice is in that. It's like a quick thing at the end. I felt a same sort of way. But like actually feeling that a version of that big feeling where it's like crawls inside of you and just lives there forever is probably the beginning of the song Hail Mary by Tupac. And it's like the big bell at the beginning, and then you hear Tupac, Hail Mary, come with me. The first 45 seconds of that song are fucking perfect, just like perfect. And as a kid, I remember it coming out of the speakers and just crawling inside of my ears and grabbing a hold of my spine and just like shaking it. And I had never like felt that way while listening to any sort of music before. I got excited when Vanilla Ice and the Ninja Turtles were together. Like I loved it. I was watching it and I was like, this is the best thing this is the best rapper, the best musician of all time is what I'm watching when he started doing ninja rap or whatever. But like an actual, I think you have to be like a teenager to feel that feeling. And I was right about the same age, somewhere between 14 and 16 years old. And Tupac doing Hail Mary, screaming it at the beginning. And the Tupac voice, where it's kind of a scream, but kind of him just talking big. Yeah. And just the way he says Hail Mary. I don't know if you put like sound clips into the show. You should put it right here so we can hear him saying it. Hail Mary. That's fucking perfect. Goddamn.
Man, I might have to figure it out. I don't do sound clips yet, but I'm gonna try.
Eventually, when you get there.
So I definitely had that kind of Vanilla Ice moment with I had that moment with Bow Wow when I was about somewhere between like 8 and 10 years old, because the first rap album I ever owned was Beware a Dog, and this was like right before 106 in Park popped off, like maybe a couple months beforehand or something like that. And then just like I remember seeing the video and just like Bow Wow, I think he was wearing like a Denver Nuggets jersey and he had on the chain and the headband, and I was like, this is the greatest rapper of all time. Like that was when I was like, all right, I'm here. Like I'm not going nowhere anymore. Like I remember when he showed up at the end. I don't even know what video it was. He just like obliterated the actual video. It was somebody else's video, and then it's him and Jermaine Dupri, and Bow Wow is rapping at the end of it, and that's where he says the line about "I've got my arm in the net like Vince Carter." And oh damn!
But he comes in like, remember when videos would do the thing where they would have like at the very end of it, at the beginning of another video, and then that was it. You just got like a clip of it. He showed up like that. And everybody just went fucking crazy. And then the Beware the Dog came out, and he was as big as it got. It felt like I was in college when this happened. I can't imagine what it felt like to be 12 years old and seeing this kid out there with the adults. You fucking must have lost your mind.
Yeah, I was going crazy. That was the song you're talking about. That's Bounce With Me. That's Bounce With Me. Yeah, wow, like See? It just, that shit just blew my mind, and I was like, all right, like, you know, I decided like not even just that like I like the music, but like because I had heard rap before, like my parents played it a little bit, and like I heard what was like on the radio and whatever, but like that felt like, okay, this is mine, you know, like I'm a part of this, and this is my entry into this. And then that's like that moment too, like having that like foundational moment, like whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, because like I feel like people get ashamed when they're like, oh yeah, I used to listen to like Bow Wow or like Criss Cross or like Hammer or Vanilla Ice. Like it doesn't matter, like that's the starting point. Like
that's how it works. Everybody has it in their head that it's supposed to be backwards. Like you're really supposed to be 10 years old in the record store digging through crates. Like, oh, Madlib, who is this? I must love it. Like, that's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. When you're introduced to something, you get the biggest version of it first, whatever the most popular one is. That's what introduces you to it. And then you find your way toward the smaller stuff. You learn about LeBron James before you learn about whoever, Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it goes like that. Everybody thinks it's the other way. It's so stupid.
Right. Yeah. Nah, it's just like you're really just hustling backwards at that point. Like, just like give yourself time to like figure it all out. Like, especially if you're younger. Like, come on.
For real.
So, you know, like as you're getting older and you have these experiences with like, you know, like rap and film, like was there ever or no, I mean, like I clearly there was a point, but like, do you remember when you first consciously began to link film and music together in your head as two things that like complement each other?
Yeah, it was when the movie Above the Rim came out. This is all happening around the same time. So this thing happened when I was working on hip hop and other things, where you have, by this point, rap starts out in the 70s, and then now it's 2021. So we're talking about 40, 50 years. You have 40, 50 years of stuff that you can write about if you're putting a rap book together. And I kept finding myself migrating back to like music that came out between 92 and 2002 or something like that, right? I was like, oh, I want to write about Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. I want to write about Illmatic. I want to write about hardcore, Lil Kim's hardcore. I want to write about Missy Elliott, DMX, Busta Rhymes, whatever. Like, and I was like, why do I keep going back to this? My argument is going to be that like 94 is the greatest year in the history of rap. Above 1988, above 96, above 98, whatever. 94 is like my pick. But is that really the case? Or is this just like, is there something else at play? So I started researching a bunch. And then I found out like there have been a bunch of studies done where people were trying to figure out like why you care about certain things more than you care about other things, even if those other things are better than the thing you care about. And ultimately they came up with like, when you become somewhere around 14 years old, stuff imprints itself onto you differently than it does when you're 24 or 34 or whatever. It's just more meaningful. It's more important. And that's why I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I keep doing this in the book. That's why I care about Busta Rhymes' Dangerous video, which came out in 97 or 98, more than I care about like another video that came out 2 years ago or whatever. But all that to say, yeah, when Above the Rim came out, which was a movie about basketball right around the same time that had Tupac in it, well, I just was talking about, I was like completely in love with.
Yeah.
They were using the song Regulators or Regulate, Warren G's Regulator.
Classic.
Warren G's Regulate, him and Nate Dogg. That was like the big song from the movie. The video itself, when you watch the video, it had clips of the movie in it. It was all bundled together. And I was like, I have to do everything I can in my power to go watch this movie because this is all of this stuff that I love. But that was the first time I can remember them being linked together, like where you couldn't pull any of the pieces apart. You need one for the other. And it makes sense because I think Above the Rim, that soundtrack is like the greatest movie soundtrack ever. It's better than everything that you can name. Probably a close second is The Bodyguard or Purple Rain or something like that stars a musician. But this one, in this case, I mean, it stars Tupac as well, but I think that's the greatest one ever. That was the first one I was like, Regulate specifically, we're like, God, this is awesome. I didn't know that this could happen.
Man, I'm so happy you brought that up because maybe about 2 years ago now, I wrote a piece for DJ Booth about the best rap songs that appeared on movie soundtracks ever, and I think Regulate was my number one. Like,
it should be. It's the best.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why that song is so good. Like, I've heard it hundreds of times, and like I just think like, how did they do this? You know, like it's just like just trying to figure out the math and science behind it.
It's because it's Nate Dogg, the greatest G-Funk hook singer ever.
Man,
it's G-Funk. G-Funk, probably the greatest subgenre of rap ever. It just feels good. It's Warren G, one of the most underappreciated rappers ever. Truly. And he fits perfectly alongside what Nate does. He does the exact opposite of what Nate does. And it just all works. It all works.
Yeah, it's just like a perfect pairing, you know, like you couldn't ask for two people who were like so diametrically opposed to just come together and form that yin and yang. Like yeah.
Whenever that happens, whenever you get to a spot where it's like like oftentimes if there's a pairing for a song, you could be like, well, we can take this one person out and replace it with this other person, and it would be as good or better. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens a bunch. But on the times when it doesn't, like you can't take Snoop off of Nothing But a G Thing and replace him with anybody else on the planet and make the song better. It's impossible. And you can't take Dre out of it and replace him with anybody else and make it better. It's impossible. When that happens, that's when the song lives forever. The same thing happened here. You can't replace Warren G with any. He was never the most popular rapper. He's never the best rapper on the planet. But you can't replace him. He's irreplaceable. It doesn't matter who else you grab. You could fucking build a time machine and take 2007 Lil Wayne, who had one of the all-time great runs during that stretch. You could take him back in time and put him on that song, and it wouldn't be as good. And when that happens, it fucking lives in forever, ever, ever.
Right. You know, like same thing with Nicki Minaj on Monster, which you bring up on the book. Like there's nobody else who could have done what Nicki did on Monster. You know?
Yeah, nobody. Like, not one other person could do what she did on that song right there.
Right. It's just like, yeah. And like, I don't just like Regulate is just such a beautiful song. And like, now that we're talking about Above the Rim, do you have a specific favorite hip hop movie moment that you could think of? Because like, I feel like that's just like a really specific question. And I feel like only a handful of people like really have an answer to. So like, do you have one of those?
I'm sure that I do. The silliest one for sure, the one that I've been thinking about the most recently for like the last 2 months, just because the new Halloween movie started getting teased and then it came out. But Busta Rhymes shows up in Halloween Resurrection.
Yes, he does.
And he number one cusses out Michael Myers, the real Michael Myers. He thinks he's talking to a fake Michael Myers, and he just fucking shits all over him. It's just them two in a room together. Michael Myers could have just grabbed him and slit his throat, but Busta Rhymes was just talking so much shit to him that Mike turned tail and walked out. He just left. And then later on, they get into an actual fisticuffs fist fight where Busta Rhymes karate kicks him. He fucking electrocutes him in the dick with a giant cord. Like that one stands out in my head. Tupac and Above the Rim, specifically when he does the razor blade trick for the first time. And you're like, what the fuck? What was that? But if I have to pick one above all of them, I think it has to be, and I wrote about this in the movie book, matter of fact, I think it has to be Ice Cube and Friday, because that was the very first movie ever that I heard about before I saw anything for it. Because they weren't like, we didn't go to the movies a bunch, so there was not a chance for me to see a trailer. And I never saw a trailer for Friday in the theater. I don't even know if they were playing it. They might not have been playing them very much, if at all. But right. I never saw a trailer for it. I never saw a poster for it. All that I knew is that one day everybody was talking in my neighborhood one way, and then the next day everybody was talking a different way. Everybody was doing the like, you got to be a stupid motherfucker to get fired on your day off, like that kind of thing. You got knocked the fuck out, that kind of thing. Bye, Felicia. Everybody was saying these same like 6 or 7 lines. And I'm like, what is going on? What is this? And finally somebody told me what it was. And then eventually it came to Blockbuster, and we got to rent it and watch it. And I just because it was the very first movie I ever experienced before I watched it, it stands out in my head as this like giant thing. So I got to go with Ice Cube as my winner. There's my first place.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, like Friday is so iconic that it like people who are already in the know already knew about like the Bye Felicias and like all those lines. And then just like out of nowhere, like 4 or 5 years ago, like somebody said it, and then it just became like pop culture lexicon, like bam, like it had the moment, like almost 20 years after the fact, like, I don't know what. Sorry. What?
I know what it was because when Straight Outta Compton came out, the NWA movie,
right,
directed by F. Gary Gray, the same director,
right?
Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube in the movie, and there's a Bye Felicia moment in there. They set it up perfectly. The NWA has already become famous. They're this giant rap group. They're doing a party in a hotel. This guy and his friends come to the door looking for his girl. Hey, where's my girl?
Right. Yeah.
And her name is Felicia. And they slide it in there real quick. Hey, my girl Felicia's in here, wherever. And then Dr. Dre's character slams the door. He walks, like the rooms are connected. He walks to the other one. He's like, are you Felicia? Where's Felicia? Some. But they're doing it amongst this chaos of like this impending fight that's going to happen. And then turns out Felicia's with Eazy-E. She's performing oral sex on him in the bathroom.
Right.
He comes out. They get the guns. They walk out. And he's like,
there it is.
They're confronting everybody. It's like this great scene. They chase the guys off. And then it ends with them throwing Felicia out of the room, and you just hear him say, bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia, right.
And then, I remember watching in the theater, and it was such an unexpected, like, little hat tip. But when he paid off that well, the whole fucking theater just was, like, erupted in applause, because we all knew what it was and what had just happened, and that we had all just been tricked. Nobody saw it coming. If somebody tells you they knew it was going to happen, they're fucking lying right in your face. But when you hear the words, and you realize, oh shit, that's Ice Cube's son. Oh shit, that's the same director. Oh shit, that's this. There's like 8 things in place. Oh fuck, it just came back.
Yeah, like it's just like wow, just like because like I remember when I first saw Straight Outta Compton too, and now that I think about it, I think I've only seen it the one time in theaters, but just like it was just such a beautiful moment, and like people who knew about it, and like everybody who knew what the reference was, it's like but then you had people who were like, bye Felicia, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like, have you seen this movie called Friday? Like you see like the BuzzFeed articles come out, like so yeah, I think that was definitely
F. Gary Gray, an incredible director, some of the best movies in my life. But so he does Friday, does Straight Outta Compton. He does Set It Off, which should also get mentioned here if we're talking about hip hop moments in movies with Queen Latifah. Oh my God, what I wrote a whole thing about her in the rap book in hip hop and other things, but specifically I wrote about her role in Set It Off as the like bruiser of the group. Just fucking an iconic performance. She should get mentioned here too. But man, F. Gary Gray is, I love him. Every time he shows up for a movie. The Negotiator. Law-abiding citizen, a just great silly movie to watch. Golly.
Yeah. He which of the Fast and Furious movies did he direct? Because it was one of like the recent
8.
ones.
He did 8.
Okay. He did
Fate of the Furious, yeah.
Right, Fate of the Furious. He did great with that too. Like he's incredibly versatile. I know he started off as was he no, he wasn't a music video director. Because I know like before he started directing movies, he was like he would like shoot interviews for somebody. I forget who, but either way, like he's just been in the game forever, you know, like
yeah.
He did
videos. He did
okay.
He did it for all the Ice Cube. I know he did. Dr. Dre, I know he did. Queen Latifah, I know he did. I'm sure others as well. But yeah, he definitely has, like, you know, he has that on his resume for sure.
Right. Did he direct the video for It Was a Good Day?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Which makes sense if you look at that, and then you look at Friday. They're, you know, thematically very similar in themes.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're definitely having a conversation. Like you could really, like, if you wanted to, you could teach a class on like how those two, just like how to like expand like concepts from a video into a, like, because I actually don't remember like what order they came out, and I don't remember if Friday came first or if the video came first.
No,
either way,
it was a good day. It was a good day came first. That was okay. 90, 91, 92. 92 is when that one came out.
Right.
And then, you know, Friday didn't come out until 95. He does Friday, Set It Off, and then Negotiator in like a 3-year period or something like that.
Right. So yeah, you know, like you could really, like, you could teach a whole class on how to expand something from like such a short medium as a music video into like into something feature length. Like it's just really beautiful, the transition and just like how they talk to each other. I didn't even think about that until you just mentioned it, so that's crazy.
I wonder if they ever had that conversation, him and Dre, about, I mean, they did the video for It Was a Good Day, and then I wonder if they were like, hey, this is like, we should maybe do a movie also set over the course of one day and like figure it out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think a more direct example of that is when Edgar Wright turned that video into Baby Driver. And it's like all the same shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out F. Gary Gray. I hope
Yeah.
he's a listener of Real Notes.
I hope so too, honestly. Like, let's get him.
He's being celebrated.
Come on the show, sir. We'll do it up. So of course, you know, we've talked about it a bunch already, but I want to get into hip hop and other things. And you know, like one of the things I loved about first starting to crack open the book was that you partially dedicated it to listening to music while driving around in the car, which is like, I feel like that's just it's such a beautiful pastime that, like, I don't want to say it's underappreciated, but it's just like one of those things you just don't think about. Like you do it, and it's like a great experience. And it's just like, you know, you don't think about it until you read stuff like this, you know? So like, you know, like for you, like like, do you remember the first album you heard while you were in a car that like kind of gave you that moment?
I do actually, because I didn't get a car until right at the end of high school. And when I finally got one, I was so excited because it had a CD player in it. It was a little Hyundai. It was just a little piece of shit Hyundai. It was $2,000, but it was mine, and I loved it, and I washed it, and I kept it clean. And because it had the CD player in there, I thought it was fucking. I was like the way Kanye West felt when he was shouting about no one man should have all that power. That's how I felt when I would start up my car to listen to my little shitty radio. But the very first album that I played in there, and I can remember driving around just listening to it, being excited to listen to rap and somewhere other than my bedroom, was Mace's album Harlem World, which came out in 97. So I was 16 at the time. And I think it must have been my junior year or something like that. But that album came out. And then there's a song on there that's produced by the Neptunes called Looking at Me. And it starts out and it's like, and it's like kind of, there's not a lot of bass in it, but there's enough bass in it that you can like feel it in the speakers, even shitty speakers. They just sounded good. That's how talented the Neptunes are. I remember playing that one and being like, hell yeah, this is the peak of my life right here. And I'm just riding around listening to Mace and the fucking Neptunes and Puff Daddy. It's great.
Man, I love that album. And I just found it at a thrift store on CD maybe like a month and a half ago. Yeah, because like I owned it when I was younger and I lost my copy. And like I just needed to own it. And I just learned that Mace went to my college. I went to SUNY Purchase, and like he went to Purchase for like a semester, like maybe not even a full semester. It was like,
you can claim it. You can claim it.
It was in that period. It was like right before he went down to Atlanta to go meet Puff for the first time.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And like he was there, and like he spent, I think, like the last money he had on like the flashiest suit he could possibly buy. And then he went to the little he went to the little convention in Atlanta, and that's where he met Puff, and then that's how the Bad Boy thing started. Like it was it just like. But man, like Harlem World is such a great album to play in the car.
It's just good.
It's just so fun, you know, like it doesn't take itself too seriously. And like, I know people were really against that at the time because, you know, because that was when everything was just hard and gritty, and people were like, what's this? Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
we had just come out of Tupac and Biggie getting murdered.
Right.
And then Puff is doing we're going to reintroduce all the samples and everything's going to be fun and shiny. And yeah, there was definitely some pushback to it until it sort of took over everything. And then everybody tried to do it. Jay-Z's very first like proper single or video that he put out is just a rip off of what Puff and them were doing here. Like you can go watch it on YouTube right now and you're like, what is this? But Mace was so good. He would tell everybody, like, I'm not the new Biggie. I don't want to be that. Don't say that I'm that. But everybody was still saying that, like, that's what you're supposed to be. I imagine that that's a lot of pressure to have on you. But Harlem World came out. There was that album. That was Puff Daddy's album. What was it called? No Way Out. I feel like it was called No Way Out.
I think so.
I'm gonna look it up right now so that I can make sure that I'm right about this. Let's see. Yep, that's what it was. No Way Out. That album comes out. Man, it was just such a fun time in rap when all of that was happening. And then of course DMX shows up and shuts all that shit down. He's like, hey,
Right.
we're back to this. Here we are. This new thing. What a great stretch that was.
Yeah, honestly. And then he did it 2 times in the same year, you know, like
forget about it.
Man, like a million units 2 times. Like, come on. Like
nobody had ever done that. Tupac did it, but Tupac was passed. Like right. He was DMX the first one ever to do it alive. But man, what a stretch. So you have Missy, Mace, Busta Rhymes, Puff Daddy, DMX, Jay-Z, fucking like from 97 to 99 or something. Like what great fun it was.
Truly. Like, and you know, yeah, I agree 100%. And that's, you know, like that's one of the like I get that and so much more from so much of hip hop and other things that like it's just like you know like of course like with the other books you had the basketball book, you had the movie book, and this is number 3. Like I love this little trilogy because you can like one thing I love about you, Shea, and that I've always loved from like all your writing and just like the podcasts you do, like you know like the older stuff you've done with The Ringer and the new thing with Jinx, of course, no skips. Like you just have so much passion. Like you just have this like zeal and lust for life in you, and it's just like everything you write about, and it's just like that comes through so much. And like I just wanted to say I just really appreciate how much love and passion you put into what you do, because it really just shows. Like,
well, thank you. I'm glad that it works. That's the whole point of the stuff I'm trying to do, is just celebrate this shit that I like and let you know. I had like a struggle early on in my book career when I was trying to, this happened in basketball and other things, because basketball, there was a fucking 100 years of history to cover or something goofy like that.
Right.
And so immediately it was like very overwhelming. Like, how do you write about everything? How do you even see everything? This, that. And while I was working on it, that's when I realized that the point of doing the books is not to like cram an infinite amount of stuff into a finite amount of space, because that's impossible by its very nature. The point of doing the books, or the goal of doing the books anyway, is to write about something in so specific of a way that the person reading it like activate something in them that reminds them of their version of that thing. Like there's a whole chapter in the book about Missy Elliott. We've mentioned her a couple of times here. The album Super Duper Fly is one of my 5 favorite albums ever. And so I wanted to write about the album, and I wrote about it. And hopefully if somebody reads the chapter, somebody who has never even listened to a Missy Elliott album, or if for some reason they don't enjoy Missy Elliott's music, hopefully they can read the chapter and then be like, oh, that's how I feel about a Mortal Technique or whatever you're listening to, if you're not listening to Missy Elliott. Like that's the goal of the thing, is to like just let me scrape my feelings out of my chest and put them on this page, and then you read it, and then it's like, oh, those are like that's my version of this thing. And so I'm glad that it works. I'm glad that you feel that way when you read a thing. It makes me feel very good.
Nah, man, you know, like that, it's the least I could do. And like there's one like there are several chapters that really spoke to me in that way, but the one that I would really love to focus on real quick is the one that starts out as you doing the rapper rookie cards, which is a really great concept on its own, and then it turns into this like 3-4 page tribute to Mac Miller. Like just out of like on a dime, it just switches. And like it caught me completely off guard. And like you just kind of take these moments. Like you just like take these like small little moments, like him on the talk show and him on Twitter, and you listening to Circles at the house in the woods. And just like you kind of just like it just caught me so completely by surprise, and kind of really summed up how I felt going back and re-listening to some of Mac's old stuff after he passed. Like particularly Good AM and Swimming were the 2 that I was really like hung up on, and just like, you know, like that happened for me when reading that section. And on top of having that emotional connection, I just thought like I just love the idea of the chapter starting out one way and then just ending in a completely different way. So like, I guess the last question I have for you, because I know you have I know you got somewhere else to be. Like, were there any other sections of hip hop and other things that started one way and ended up another, or was that just like is that just like an exception that just kind of happened out of nowhere?
Now that happens several times in the book, and mostly it's on purpose. With this one, it was on purpose. I knew I wanted to write about Mac in the book. I knew I wanted to sneak my way toward it. That's what I wanted to do. And this is the reason that I do that, is because Mac Miller sort of snuck his way into my heart, into my ears. You know, he started out as one thing and he ended his career as a completely different artist. If you listen to his first tape versus his last tape, which is often how it works when you're talking about very talented people. And so I wanted to write about a thing that does that without saying that's what I'm doing. And so then we come up with the idea for we're going to do rapper rookie cards, because that's just like a fun little gag to play and it could 100% stand on its own. You could just do a whole chapter that was like, okay, if you have a Jay-Z rookie card, how much do you think it would be worth? If you have a Vince Staples rookie card, how much do you think it would be worth? You could do that for a whole chapter and everybody would be perfectly happy with it. But if you set it up that way, and then you get to the Mac Miller moment, and then rather than assigning any sort of value, you start talking about how like it's unnecessary and trivial to do that. And like, you start talking about the bigger stuff or the more meaningful stuff, then it has like an interesting trick in your head where you get leaning one way and then you get your feet kicked out from you the other way. And when you're like, you can't stop reading, because now you think you have to know how it ends, and you think you know in the beginning, and halfway into the chapter the whole pitch changes and you're like, oh sure, well now I can't stop. And then you have to read through the whole thing and you get to the end and you realize all the shit in the beginning was just like a trick. But anyway, that does happen in the book several times. It's often on purpose. It's often there's a reason to do it. I'm glad that you picked up on it when you did, when you read through it. Like, that means it works. That's one of the chapters that, people like to take pictures of the book and send it to me on Twitter. And I think so far of the like last couple of days since the book has been out, that's the one that I have been sent the most. There's a picture that Arturo, the illustrator, drew of Mac Miller underwater in a swimming pool,
and he's in the
cross-legged. In the suit from the album cover, just looking very happy and like there's no gravity on him. People have been sending me that picture or like a picture of that plus the text and being like, man, this really was like my favorite part or whatever. So I'm glad that it's working. I'm glad that people enjoy it. And it's just cool to see, like, I wasn't the only one who felt that way listening to a thing, or like revisiting his music after he fucking sadly passed away. It was like, there's a lot of stuff going on in here.
Yeah, really. And like, and the beautiful moment for me right now is that my good friend Donna, her book came out. The Book of Mac came out the same day that your book did.
Your buddies with Donna?
Yeah, man. Like I work at Audio Mac, so she's my boss, but like we're homies. Like that's
I had no idea. Oh, that's dope. I ordered the book yesterday. I didn't even know like a thing was coming out, and then I saw it when I checked Amazon. It was like all bundled together. I said, "What is this?" And then, oh shit, and then I ordered it. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. What a beautiful book to write.
For real, yeah. And like she's kind of like the authority on Mac. Like she, of course, she did the whole Book of Mac series. Like I kind of watched that book come together behind the scenes, because like once again, like that's like my good homie. So like it's
that's great.
So kind of to have these two things to kind of like to read both of your words on them at the same time, and to of course like go through and continue reading hip hop and other things is just like I'm just excited for that, just off of like some like this is great type shit. Like
I think everybody should buy that book instead of this book. That's what I think. Buy that one first and read that one. And then when you're finished and you got some extra time, then come try this one. I'm sure that one's got to be better. I can't imagine how, like, have you read it yet?
I haven't read the whole thing. I've seen bits and pieces of chapters, but I haven't read the whole book. Like my copy is coming in the mail like today. It should be on my stoop like right now. So
I can't imagine like what that feels like to read through that book. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. But before we go, I have one more really, really fast question for you, because you're like at the center, like you cover so many different things, and you cover them all with the same amount of passion and zeal. And like I was saying before, so like, just like for anybody who's like if you had one piece of advice for somebody who has all these myriad interests and wants to get into like any aspect of content creation, whether it's writing or podcasting or, you know, like TV, like, you know, you just had the show that was announced a couple days ago, which congratulations on that. Like, you know, so like, if you had one piece of advice for somebody who wanted to get into this and cover all these things, not necessarily in the way you do, but just has multiple interests, but doesn't know how to focus them all into like one thing, like what would that piece of advice be if you had one?
If they're at the very start of their career, so if you're at the very start of your career and you have a bunch of things that you want to write about or talk about or make videos about or podcast about, which is usually how it works. There's no person is like singularly driven by just one topic or whatever. I think the piece of advice there, this is going to be a very practical piece of advice, and it's not going to be very much fun, at least not in the beginning. Eventually it will be. But I think what you have to do, we've seen it time and time again on the internet, is you have to build a lane for yourself. That's like the goal here. And you can't do that if you're the person who covers everything. You just can't, because you're not going to be good enough at any one of those parts to I guess, take precedence over somebody else who is dedicating more of their time to a thing. Like with Mac Miller, for example. Yeah. If somebody were to like write about Mac Miller, or if I put my essay out about Mac Miller and Donna put her essay out about Mac Miller at the same time, everybody would read Donna's before they read mine, because she has already done the work. Like that's what she's known for. People know this is the Mac Miller expert. She's going to have a level of insight that Shea won't have, because Shea hasn't done all the stuff that she's done. So I couldn't compete with her in that way, right? I think you have to approach content creation that same sort of way. Like you need to carve out a lane for yourself, become an expert in like one thing. And then once you have that, you use that, and then you stretch your arms out a bit. When I first started my career, I was like, nobody would let me write for them. Mostly everybody would just ignore my emails. It wasn't until I started being like, all right, well, I live in Houston. I'm going to cover Houston rap only. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to pitch the Houston press, and I'm only going to pitch them Houston rap stuff, because I don't see very much Houston rap coverage in here. And it's going to give me a better chance to get in there, because rather than me being one of the like 600 people who's pitching Rolling Stone to write about the new Drake album, now I'm like one of 4 people pitching Houston press to write about Slim Thug or whatever. And once I did that, I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to keep on pitching Houston rap stuff until I become the Houston rap guy. So that takes like a couple of years to do it. But once that happened, once I became known as the guy who knows about Houston rap, then I could take that and go elsewhere. Then I could go to MTV and be like, hey, Bun B has a new album that's coming out. I've been writing about Bun B for 3 years already at this other place. You should let me write about it here. And then I got there and they're like, okay, cool. And so then I write my Bun B thing, and now I have a relationship with the editor, and I do another Houston thing and another Houston thing. And then eventually I'm like, oh, well, let me do the other like non-Houston thing, because this is all the same, you know, this is rap we're talking about. And I slowly start to expand out that way. There, I think that you have to find a way in. And then once you get in, then it's, you know, then it's easier to grow out. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh no, it makes complete sense. That's more or less exactly what I've been doing. Like I kind of had this focus on like everything that's new that had been happening in like the neoclassicist revivalist movement in like New York, and like the kind of like Rock Marciano type of like, I hate to use the term now, it's kind of strange, but like lo-fi, like that was kind of my lane for a while. And like I think that's just such great advice to like just like become hyper literate in something and prove that you have this basis, and then move out from it. I just think that's great advice. It makes complete sense to me. So
yeah, it's like, imagine if you have a giant wall that you have to get through and a little hammer. You're not gonna fucking hit the wall in 1,000 different places. You're gonna hit it in one little spot over and over and over again until you break a hole through it that way. Like that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing here. And once you do that, then then everything becomes a little bit easier, because you have your like expertise, and then also you can start to develop your other skill set, and then you can become good at those other things. But you got to come in narrow,
right,
and then you go wide.
Yeah, and then you just grow and just continue to grow, and yeah, that's really it.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions, but like, Shea, thank you so, like, as a fan of your work, like, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the book, and just giving me an hour and change of your time. Like, I appreciate it more than I could say, honestly.
I was very excited. I started following you on Twitter, and I'm like, this guy seems interesting. Can't wait to talk to him. And now here we are, best friends, instant pals and whatnot.
See, man, yeah, you already know. Like, I can't wait till we get the chance to like go catch a movie together at some point. Like, yeah, like
I can't wait to watch you fall asleep in a movie theater. It's gonna be so much fun.
That never happens to me. It's so embarrassing. Oh, man,
all right, man.
Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.